My father called me on Christmas Eve to cancel our family dinner, saying, "Everyone's staying home. The weather's just too dangerous to drive." I believed him, until 3 hours later, when I decided to drop off their gifts anyway. As I pulled into my sister's driveway, there they were, my parents' cars, the house lit up, and laughter echoing from the porch. They hadn't canceled Christmas. They had just uninvited me. Minutes later, my mother posted a photo online captioned, "Celebrating with the real family." Instead of breaking down, I pressed like and commented, "Looks wonderful. Enjoy the house while you still can." She deleted the post within 10 seconds. But by then, it was already too late. Because what my father didn't know was that the deed to that house wasn't in his name. It was in mine. Follow my story until the end, and comment the city you're watching from so I can see how far my story has reached. My name is Chloe. I'm 27 years old, and for as long as I can remember, I've been the reliable daughter. The one who works quietly in software logistics, pays her bills on time, and never asks for a dime. But reliability, as I learned the hard way, often gets mistaken for invisibility. It was 4 p.m. on Christmas Eve when my phone rang. My father's heavy, authoritative voice filled the speaker before I could even say hello. "Chloe," he said, not even bothering with a holiday greeting. "We're calling off Christmas dinner tonight. There's a severe blizzard warning rolling in, and the roads are going to be dangerous. Everyone's staying home. It's just not worth the risk." I stood by my living room window, pulling back the blinds. Outside, a gentle, harmless dust of snow was falling onto the pavement. The streetlights flickered warmly, and the roads were completely clear. "Dad, the forecast only says an inch or two," I said, a faint prickle of unease touching the back of my neck. "I can easily drive over in 20 minutes. "No, Chloe. I've already spoken to your mother and sister," he interrupted, his tone final and unyielding. "We've agreed it's canceled. Stay home. We'll try again next year." He hung up before I could argue. I sat down on my couch, looking at the wrapped boxes beneath my small tree. Something fell off, but I forced myself to brush it away. After all, he was my father. Why would he lie about something as simple as Christmas dinner? By 7 p.m., the quiet in my apartment was deafening. Looking at the neatly wrapped gifts sitting under my tree, expensive wool sweaters for my parents and the tablet my sister Clara had been dropping hints about for months, I felt a surge of holiday spirit resolve. It was barely flurrying outside. I figured I would just drive over to Clara's house, leave the packages on her porch as a surprise, and head back home. The drive took less than 15 minutes. But as I turned onto Clara's street, my heart did a strange, violent flip. Parked side by side in the driveway were my father's pickup truck and my mother's SUV. Warm yellow light spilled out from the large bay windows onto the snow. I pulled over to the curb, killed my headlights, and stared. Through the glass, I could see the entire scene clearly. The dining table was decked out in festive red linens, loaded with roast turkey and wine. My mother was placing a pie on the table, laughing out loud, while my father and Clara were clinking their glasses together in a toast. They hadn't canceled Christmas because of a blizzard. They had canceled me. My hands shook against the steering wheel, a mix of humiliation and cold fury washing over me. I pulled out my phone, my thumb hovering over the screen. That's when a notification popped up from social media. My mother had just uploaded a photo of the three of them holding their wine glasses around the table. The caption read, "Celebrating Christmas Eve with the real family. Blessed and cozy." Instead of crying, something hard and sharp snapped into place inside me. I tapped the post, pressed the like button, and typed a quick comment. "Looks wonderful. Enjoy the house while you still can." Within 10 seconds, the post vanished, deleted. But I had already taken a screenshot. To understand why my mother's post cut so deep, and why my response made her delete it in a panic, you have to understand how my family operated. For years, my younger sister Clara was the golden child. No matter how many bad financial decisions she made, my parents were always there to cushion her fall, while I was expected to sit quietly, pay my own way, and never complain. 2 years ago, Clara's chronic irresponsibility finally caught up with her. She had stopped paying her mortgage, and the bank was weeks away from initiating foreclosure proceedings on her house. She cried to my parents, but they didn't have the funds to save her. Desperate to keep the family from suffering a public humiliation, my father came to me. He practically begged me to help, promising that if I stepped in, they would treat me with the respect I deserved. I had the savings, but I wasn't stupid. Instead of just handing over a giant check to clear her debt, I insisted on doing everything strictly through my real estate attorney. I bought out the mortgage entirely and placed the property into a private family trust that I personally created and controlled. Under the terms of our confidential lease agreement, my father agreed to handle the property taxes and monthly maintenance fees while Clara lived there. On paper, my father boasted to the extended family that he had saved the day and managed the property. In reality, I was the sole legal owner of the deed. I held every single piece of leverage. They thought they had successfully sidelined me from the family tree, but they had completely forgotten who actually owned the roof over their heads. Not even 2 minutes after my mother scrubbed that photo from the internet, my phone exploded. My father's name flashed across the screen. I sat in my darkened car outside Clara's house, took a deep breath, and hit answer. "Chloe, what on earth is wrong with you?" My father's voice boomed, thick with manufactured outrage. "Leaving cryptic, bitter comments on your mother's page on Christmas Eve? You're embarrassing this family." "I'm embarrassing the family?" I replied, my voice disturbingly calm. "Dad, I'm sitting in my car right outside Clara's house. I can see your truck. I can see Mom's SUV. I can see the turkey on the table. You lied to me about a blizzard just to leave me out." A heavy, suffocating silence fell over the line. I heard him cough nervously, scrambling to pivot. "Look, Chloe, it wasn't like that," he stuttered, his authority instantly crumbling. "Clara was having a rough week. She was feeling overwhelmed, and we thought a small gathering would be easier. We were going to call you tomorrow." "Save it," I said. "You uninvited me from Christmas in a house that I own. And while we're on the subject of this property, let's talk about those small details you promised to take care of." "What are you talking about?" he demanded, a sudden edge of panic creeping into his tone. "I'm talking about the lease agreement, Dad," I said smoothly. "The property taxes were due on December 1st. I checked the county portal this morning. You missed the payment. You've been in default for over 3 weeks. In the background, I heard my mother snatch the phone from his hand. "Chloe, you listen to me," she shrieked. "You are a spoiled, jealous brat trying to ruin our holiday. This is Clara's home." "Not anymore, Mom," I replied. "Not anymore." My mother's shriek echoed through the speaker, but I didn't flinch. I just leaned back against my seat, watching the warm glow of Clara's living room window. "Let me educate you on how our contract actually works," I said, my tone as ice cold as the snow falling outside. "When Dad signed that lease agreement 2 years ago, he agreed to very specific conditions. Clause 14 clearly states that if property taxes or maintenance fees fall more than 20 days past due, the conditional lease immediately terminates. No cure period. No extensions." I paused, letting the silence stretch just long enough for the reality to sink in. As of December 21st, Dad officially breached the contract. I continued, "Which means legal possession of this entire property, the structure, the land, and every single thing inside it, has fully reverted back to my trust. Clara isn't a homeowner. She's a squatter." "You can't do this," my father barked, grabbing the phone back from my mother. I could hear his breath coming fast now, the sound of a man watching his carefully constructed illusion shatter. "It's Christmas, Chloe. You can't throw your own sister out on the street over a paperwork delay." "I'm not throwing her out tonight," I replied calmly. "I'm giving you until Monday. My attorney has already drafted the formal notice of intent to sell along with the eviction papers. They'll be served bright and early Tuesday morning. Merry Christmas, Dad." Before he could scream another word, I ended the call. After hanging up, I sat in my car for a long time, watching the panic unfold inside the house. Shadowy figures paced back and forth past the bay window. My phone lit up with call after call. First my father, then my mother, and finally Clara. I ignored them all. 10 minutes later, my phone chimed with a long text message from my father. The arrogance was completely gone, replaced by desperate, frantic pleading. "Chloe, please answer. We are begging you. Clara's mental health can't take this." I only lied about Christmas because Clara was crying, saying she felt embarrassed that you were so much more successful than her. "We just wanted one night to make her feel special. Please don't take her home away." I stared at the screen, a bitter smile touching my lips. Even when caught red-handed, he was still blaming my success for their deceit. But the real blow came a few minutes later when my cousin texted me a private screenshot from the family group chat, a chat I had been secretly excluded from months ago. The screenshot revealed the true reason for the dinner. My father hadn't just uninvited me to spare Clara's feelings. They were actively celebrating. Clara had just gotten engaged to her long-term boyfriend, and my parents had promised him that night that they would transfer the house deed entirely into Clara's name as a wedding gift. They were planning to forge my authorization documents, assuming I'd never check the public land records or stand up to them. They weren't just excluding me from a holiday meal. They were sitting around a festive table, drinking wine, and actively plotting to steal an entire property out from under me. On Tuesday morning, my attorney officially served the eviction notice along with the notice of intent to sell. My parents tried everything to stop it. They sent extended family members to badger me, left tearful voicemails, and even threatened to sue me for breach of verbal contract. But my legal groundwork was airtight. Faced with the choice of an expensive, embarrassing public court battle they were guaranteed to lose, my father backed down. 3 months later, the house was sold to an independent buyer for full market value. After paying off the legal fees, I walked away with over $350,000 in clear profit, which I immediately placed into a secure investment portfolio for my own future. Without my financial safety net to bail them out, my family had to face reality. Clara and her new fiancé had to postpone their lavish wedding and downsize into a modest 2-bedroom rental apartment. My parents were forced to use their own savings to help Clara cover her security deposits, putting a massive dent in their retirement plans. They thought they could treat me like an outsider, use my hard work to fund their favorite child's life, and hide behind the excuse of family. But they learned the hard way that loyalty is a two-way street and respect isn't optional. Today, I live in a beautiful new city, surrounded by real friends who value me for who I am, not for what I can give them. Moving on was the best decision I ever made. Now, I'm curious about you who listened to my story. What would you have done if you found out your family was plotting behind your back like this? Would you have forgiven them or sold the house? Comment your thoughts below.